I went undercover at another protest encampment yesterday, this time at UC Irvine. I wore this, I walked right in, I got a stamp on my hand. They don't have great security. I went immediately to the sort of makeshift library section, as they call it. It's just a table with some books on it. And the books fell into 4 categories probably. Books about Gaza, Palestine, Israel, whatever. Books about Muslim conversion, so a lot of stuff about how to pray in Islam, copies of the Quran, stuff like that. Revolution, how to successfully have a revolution in your country, and then communism. A lot of books specifically by Marx, who is the father of communism. They also have a section for zines or pamphlets, which is where I found this, Our Narrative, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Operation Al-Aqsa Flood is what Hamas calls the October 7th terrorist attack on Israel. You'll notice something interesting about this. Right here, it says Hamas Media Office. That's where this comes from. I don't think Hamas distributed this within the camp, but the people who organized the camp went to the Hamas Media Office and printed this out. It's literally Hamas propaganda. Inside this pamphlet, they say why Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. They justify the October 7th terrorist attack where hundreds of Israeli civilians were killed, villages were burned, the Nova Music Festival was attacked. And then, despite the fact that we've seen videos of Qassam brigaders breaking into the private homes of civilians within unmilitarized villages and killing them and then desecrating their corpses, they claim that they never once targeted civilians. They only went after legitimate military targets. It seems like actually the brunt of people that they intentionally targeted and went after were civilians. Now, this is not dissimilar to designs that I found at the UC Berkeley encampment that said Operation Al-Aqsa Flood was an act of decolonialization, justifying it. So anyway, I didn't have somebody to vouch for me, so eventually they came up to me inside the camp. I was still undercover. They didn't know who I was or what my intentions were, but they had asked me to leave because they were preparing for something. After I had left, I found somebody on campus who recognized me and was willing to vouch for me inside the encampment. So I went back inside, and this person knew all of the protesters. I started hearing whispers. They were talking about how they were going to take over a building later that day, specifically the Lecture Hall of Physical Sciences, which was just adjacent to the camp. So whatever, I went about my day. I joined the protest, left the camp. They were kind of just doing the same chants over and over again. So I went out back to the grassy quad and I put my drone up in the sky. I thought I was going to get some nice, B-roll, some videos of them chanting and protesting from up above, whatever. By the time my drone got back to the encampment, they were just concluding the capture of the building. They took it over. So I hightailed it back to the camp. And not long after I got there, a police helicopter started circling the encampment, giving dispersal orders and telling people that if they did not leave soon, they would be arrested. So you have cops giving dispersal orders, and then protesters, the organizers, started going around and sort of ushering anybody who was unwilling to get arrested away from the encampment, telling people, if you stay here, you're at risk of being arrested. Please leave if you don't want to be arrested. Somebody even came up to me and said, sir, being here, you're risking being arrested. And I said, I know, I'm a journalist. It's fine.
I just want to let you know, by staying here, you are risking arrest. Are you okay with that?
That's fine. I'm a journalist.
After they got out everybody who didn't want to be arrested, still over 1,000 people remained. And those people began putting on goggles, helmets, hard hats, stuff like that, and locking arms, getting ready to fight the police.
They're all like in gas masks, locked arms, like ready to fight the cops. But they're coming with riot shields, so it's unlikely that's going to do much. Like this, so this is the Lecture Hall of Physical Sciences, and they've taken it over. They've made it part of their encampment and ransacked it. I think this is going to be like their Alamo, basically.
There was this guy there, Alan. He had an American flag. He was just walking around waving it. He got assaulted more times than I can count. People surrounded him, false imprisoned him. They threw sriracha on him, water bottles. They even wrote on his flag while he was still holding it. They vandalized it with sort of anarchy symbolism. Things started heating up. Protesters were sort of facing off with the police as they formed a line at the head of the quad. The police are probably like half a football field's distance from the protesters, and they started locking arms all the way around the encampment. And finally they moved in. The protesters the whole time were chanting things like, why are you in riot gear? There's no riot here. Ironically, their people were also in riot gear. They chanted peaceful protest as their people attacked, scuffled with, and resisted the police. They started repurposing different parts of the camp, like the pallets or the tents, to just throw on the floor in between them and the police line. It was just utter dismay. The whole place was trashed. Every time the police would move, even if it was just one step, these people would scatter like rats. They just sprint the other direction after shouting, "We're not leaving," all night. Even after the police had completely cleared the quad and taken the camp down completely, they had people in trucks behind them that were sort of loading garbage up and stuff. Even after all of that, the protesters still stood off with them. Hundreds of them just stood in a line in front of them, not even near where the camp was. And the police just kept pushing them until they were completely off the premises. It was very interesting to watch. I love being able to expose these things to you guys and show you things that the traditional media won't. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of this video. Thanks, guys.